Good morning. Today on Spotlight, the future of business in Detroit. In these uncertain times, what's being done to help Detroit area entrepreneurs of color survive and thrive? We'll talk to two generations of leaders for their perspectives on this economic and social equity issue. Our guest, Charity Dean, a Detroit attorney and president and CEO of the new Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance. Herb Strather, CEO of Strather Academy, and also president-elect of the 130-year-old Detroit Realtors Association, and Abdullah Muhammad, CEO of Emerald City Consultants. It's Sunday, April the 18th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. On March 19th, you launched a new organization in our city called the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance. Why did you feel the need to do that?
In a post-COVID world, and I don't even know if I can say post-COVID, Black businesses need as many resources as possible. And in fact, I think even with our announcement, there still aren't enough. We have a racial wealth gap in our country and in our region. And, in 2018, the Kellogg Foundation put out a report that said, the state of Michigan stands to gain close to $60 billion if it closed the racial equity gap. And so what our organization is here to do is to work with Black entrepreneurs, Black businesses in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County to help do just that, to help close that gap.
This was born out of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I would say this was born out of the pandemic of racism, but absolutely the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted for us inequities that we already knew were happening. Just like the actual virus impacted Black people differently, Black businesses were devastated through the virus. And so what we're trying to do with the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance is provide critical resources to Black businesses so that they not only survive, but that they thrive. We got an amazing contribution through TCF Bank, Gary Torgo, who has been a leader in making sure that we're working to close this gap.
President Dean, in your press release, it says that one of the purposes of the organization is to develop programming and advocacy for Metro Detroit businesses. That can take in a lot. Talk to me a little bit about what kind of programs you hope to be able to develop, as well as the advocacy role of all of this.
Yeah, so one of the first things we're going to do is downtown open up a business resource center for our members, which means that our members can come and access free internet, co-working space, boardrooms. And we talked about the digital divide that we saw during COVID, and that absolutely impacted Black businesses as well. In addition to that, we're building out a Black business directory that's going to list every Black business in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County. But most importantly, we're going to launch our Capital Connect program. And that program is going to do one-on-one counseling with Black business owners to connect them to the resources that they need. You cannot do programming and also and close the gap without addressing policy. And so we're going to be very much engaged at the local, state, and federal level.
They oftentimes talk in the business world about business to business or business to consumers. Will your membership reflect both realms in the business world?
Absolutely. So B2B is important, right? Business to business is important, but also business to consumers. And so we see that we need all of it in order to accomplish our very aggressive goal. And so not only is our model both business to business and business to consumer, but we have memberships for everyone, because we really believe that if we help to close this gap, and we know it, the data shows it, that everyone wins, right? When you're doing the work of equity, the returns go to everyone. And so we really invite everyone to join us in this work because it's that important.
All right, we need to take a little break. We'll come right back. I want to ask you about the participation that you have from TCF Bank. They're putting a lot of bucks behind this, as well as some of their clout. We'll talk about that right after this. Stay with us. I was looking at some of the people that are on your board. You have Charles Nolan, who's the board chair. He's also an entrepreneur. I believe has the restaurant, bar, and grill down in the New Center area. I'm sorry.
Eastern Market.
Eastern Market. Thanks for that correction. You have Roderick Hardiman, who's a developer in the city, Regina Gaines, who's been on this program, who has the wine business in downtown Detroit. Dennis Archer Jr. is on your advisory board, and he certainly has long, steeped history with the Detroit Regional Chamber. Is this the type of clout that you're bringing in? Is this a true reflection of how widespread perhaps you are or want to be?
Absolutely. Our board members are deeply committed to this mission and have in their individual businesses, over the years. And so you'll also see, you'll also see, board members outside of Detroit, because we are Metro Detroit and we want to make sure that we're covering all three counties effectively. But absolutely, we're not just a pop-up organization. We're here to stay, and we're here to make sustainable, lasting impact in the region. And so we intend to do that.
Would it be safe to say, and let me play a little devil's advocate here, that this is designed a little more with the young, up-and-coming Black entrepreneur than maybe the old school?
Chuck, well, this is what I'll say. We are here to make impact, but the folks that have advised us, the folks, they may not even sit on the board, but the folks that have, supported us and given us wisdom along the way, they run the gamut of age. There's not we aren't the young group, but we're the present group. And so we've got, a lot of folks, even behind the scenes, that are really giving us wisdom. It may look like we're the young group, but that's not the case at all. We're the Black group, and we're unapologetically Black. And so for us, it's about making sure that Black businesses have the opportunity that they need to succeed.
Ms. Dean, have the problems that African-American owned businesses and people of color, have they been uniquely different during COVID-19 than those of their counterparts?
I appreciate that question, Chuck. I'll give you an example of a barrier. When COVID first hit, so this time last year, 2020, we had to shut everything down. There was tons of uncertainty. We didn't know when things would open up, and we're waiting for relief from the federal government. The federal government issues out its first round of PPP. And in order to access this funding, you had to be a business that not only had employees, so that took out micro businesses, solo entrepreneurs, hairdressers who didn't have employees, and you had to have a lending relationship with the bank. And historically, not even just for home mortgages, historically there has been a history of underrepresentation in Black businesses that have lending relationships with the bank, right? They may have bank accounts. And it's not because Black businesses have not wanted to get a line of credit for their business or to get a business loan, but there has been policies put in place for generations that have prohibited it. And so you imagine the first round of relief comes out, and you've got to have a lending relationship with the bank. And if you're a Black-owned business who wants a lending relationship with the bank but couldn't get one, you're feeling really left out. You're feeling like, well, what about me? And so I'm very thankful that the subsequent rounds of PPP adjusted a lot of that bias. But those are examples of biases that happen every day, that if we're not vigilant, if we are not on top of it, and if there's not someone saying, well, wait a minute, Black businesses, let's talk about the loans that Black people couldn't get, like in this century, right? And if you don't have people saying that and advocating for real change, then you'll sometimes have policies that may not intentionally be discriminatory, but they definitely have that effect.
The hardest thing for any business is that startup. You're getting some help from TCF Bank. What kind of help?
Yes, TCF Bank is a partner for us. And so they made $1 million commitment over 5 years for the sustainability of our organization. And so what they wanted to do was really come out and lead and say, we recognize that this void is here and we want to help fill it in. And so we're very grateful to Gary and his Gary Torgo and his leadership team over at TCF that really understand our mission and are committed to helping us get there. And we got a number of things coming up with TCF because we want to also make sure that our Black businesses in Wayne, Oakland, and McCowan County can get access to all of the capital that is available to them.
You're having some support as well from, I think, the Detroit Pistons?
Yes, the Pistons are another amazing partner. They've also made a donation. We've got a number of supporters, even outside of the Pistons, but the Pistons have been an amazing partner from the beginning, and we're going to be doing things with them for Detroit Restaurant Week and Detroit Black Restaurant Week, which is in April, and there's another one happening in August. And so the Pistons and the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance are supporting Black restaurants there. But the Pistons have been an amazing supporter as well, and we've got a number of other supporters, and every day we're looking for more.
Because businesses can range from one person to several people, or maybe even hundreds of people, will you have a sliding scale in terms of membership and dues and contributions?
Absolutely. So business owners or even non-business owners can go to www.mdbba.com, MDBBA from Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance. And there are a variety of membership levels depending on who you are. You might not be a Black-owned business, but you're an ally, right? The beautiful thing about the work of equity is when you make a difference, when you push for equity, everybody wins, right? When PPP rules were changed, all of a sudden other folks were eligible, not just Black businesses. And so, you might want to join as an ally member. You might be an individual and say, I believe in this mission and I want to help, and so I want to join as an individual member. So there are a wide range of memberships, and yes, as business owners, there's a sliding scale based on your employees.
And do I have to be African American, or if I'm a person of color but I may not be African American, can I get in this group?
Everyone can join. There's a membership for everyone. So I would encourage folks to go to the website and you'll see a description. Our general membership is for Black-owned businesses, but there are ally memberships, there are nonprofit memberships, there are corporate memberships, there are individual memberships. We even have a youth entrepreneurship membership because we really believe in generational wealth and starting young. So there's something for everyone on our website.
All right, very good. Charity Dean, President and CEO of the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck with this new organization, and we'll check in with you from time to time.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. And coming up, we'll talk to Herbert Strather and Abdullah Muhammad about Black ownership in the city of Detroit. We'll be right back. Stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight. Joining me now is Herb Strather and Abdullah Muhammad. And we appreciate both of you joining us on our program this morning. Herb Strather, I'm going to start with you. Back in the mid-1990s, I remember you and Larry Doss and the late Johnny Cochran and Jack Barthwell sitting around at Larry's house strategizing on how to get what was then Proposal E on the ballot. It was successful. You got it done statewide, and it led to the 3 casinos. Let's fast forward to 2021. You're now CEO of Herb Strather Academy and president-elect of the Metro Detroit Realtors Association. That organization is about 130 years old. Does that suggest that you now have a fair economic piece of the pie?
Well, the spot that I'm in, by the way, is Detroit Association of Realtors and Strather Academy. We're trying to create the next generation of urban developers, Chuck. And we want to ensure generational wealth through real estate itself. Back then, we were fighting the good fight for economic piece of the pie, and now we got to fight this fight. We're probably the most disenfranchised group of people in America. We're the largest concentrated group of African American, but people come here and eat our lunch. They buy real estate portfolios, 30 and 40 at a time. We own 2 or 3 of the liquor stores and none other, 2 or 3 gas stations, none other. And in the cannabis business, we only had 10% of that. I said, enough is enough. Right now, we got to fight like our forefathers fought, created Paradise Valley, Black Bottom. It was booming. We owe an obligation to the next generation. And at this stage in life, I'm certainly fighting that fight as my legacy. And I'm not in the cannabis business, itself. But I allowed them to use my office. I said, look, you all could use my office, and they met met. And I finally got in it because they needed my help on a particular deal. I said, well, I will lend that. So the idea, in meeting Abdullah, a very fine gentleman, I met Abdullah, and he was heading up the organization. And
Sure.
we kind of got together and said, whatever we could do, I would be willing to help.
Sure. Abdullah Muhammad, let me get you in this conversation. You work with Councilman James Tate and Mayor Duggan and others. How does this fit into what unquote we're hearing now about social equity?
To Herb's sentiments, 10% of the dispensaries in the city of Detroit were owned by Detroit residents. So for me personally, when I engaged with the cannabis ordinance last year with Councilman Tate, Mayor Duggan, my objective was purely to help longtime Detroiters get a seat at the table to be able to build generational wealth. So as we've gone along over the last year, the preponderance of roadblocks has been funding. And we're trying to resolve that with a couple of different ways that we're working with a group of people. But that is a major issue, is to try to get people from having the dream of having successful businesses in the cannabis industry and being able to join the seat at the table with everyone else, building that wealth. And it has been a struggle, Chuck. It has been a struggle.
Way back when Herb was involved in getting these casinos off the ground, they had to do a lot of negotiating, and part of that was giving back in a big way to our community. You all seem to be asking for some of the same type of things from these dispensaries, but in a voluntary basis, that they ought to be giving to the Detroit Public Schools and other entities in this city to make sure that this next generation is benefiting from all of that wealth, correct?
Yes, there's in the ordinance, there's what they call a good neighbor plan. That good neighbor plan requires, or it strongly suggests, I should say, that the current dispensaries, not just dispensaries, but all businesses, whether they be safety compliance or whether they be grows or what have you, contribute a suggestive 1% of gross revenues back to charitable foundations, community groups. We think that that's very proportionate in terms of the total amount of money that they're making, and it's fair. So yes, that is a part of the ordinance that was released in November of 2020.
Okay, we need to take a quick little break. When we come back, Herb Strather, I want to pick up with you talking about your academy and what you see as the future for businesses owned and operated by people of color. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Herb Strather, you have an academy. What exactly does the academy do?
We created this to show people how to create wealth in real estate. We have $1 billion worth of equity in our community that is psychologically depressed. It is impossible for prices to be extremely low with a huge demand. Those two things don't go. Look like prices would rise. So what happened? The banks get fully reimbursed. They don't care. They'll sell them for anything. They get 97% reimbursement for losses. So people all over the world, Chuck, comes here to buy our real estate because we, Detroiters, are not buying our own real estate. Can you imagine that? So Strather Academy is being created to make a difference in the world, to show people how to do it. And not theoretically, you have to buy a deal to graduate. You have to buy a deal. You have to buy the house next door to you that's vacant, down the street. Why would you let people eat our lunch? So we've created this for people to become involved. And those who want, you just got loads of free stuff. Just go to strather.online, not on com, just strather.online, and we'll give it to you. So we have an umbrella. Legacy Detroit Group, I got to get that right, .com,
Okay.
and strather.online.
Great. We'll make sure it's on the screen. Herb, let me ask you real quickly before I go back over to Abdullah. In 2018 and 2020, the Detroit Realtors Association voted you as Realtor of the Year. Do young people understand the significance of that when you're trying to recruit them into the realty business?
Uh, what I try to do with my people is tell them to fight the good fight. Money comes with the territory, Chuck. And you know, for every negative, there's a seed of equivalent benefit. The greatest thing ever happened to me was being poor, because I had a desperate desire to succeed, and I didn't have any money. So I had to figure it out without money. And look, I've closed $2 billion without money. So I don't want to leave this earth, leave Detroit in a situation as if while taking what's in my head and sharing it with the next generation of developers.
Mr. Muhammad, today it's the cannabis business. It's also the sports online betting business that's also in competition for people's money out here. What do you see as the next wave, and are these long-standing businesses in your mind, or is this just a flash in the pan?
No, I don't think that they're a flash in the pan, Chuck, at all. I think that, I mean, if you look at the history of cannabis in particular, I mean, I can't speak too much about the betting industry. I'm not really a gambler. But in terms of the cannabis industry in particular, you know, people have been consuming cannabis for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And the fact that it has been made illegal, I think is really a travesty, because it truly is a medicinal support for a lot of people. And a lot of people are able to, you know, sleep better, treat PTSD, glaucoma. There's a lot of medical illnesses that are treated with cannabis. So we really can't look at it like it's something that is here today, gone tomorrow. I mean, it's something that truly helps people physically. In addition to that, obviously, financially, if you can create a sound business with good management, then you can obviously have a long-lasting business to help feed your family and put money back into the Detroit economy.
Abdullah Muhammad, thank you so much for joining us today on Spotlight. We'll get both of you back. Herb Strather, appreciate you joining me as well. This is just the beginning of a long conversation, but we appreciate your insight today on our program. And I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the Spotlight. We hope you have a great week.